Hey everyone, and welcome to week 15 in environmental science. Hopefully, you all had a great Thanksgiving break and you're ready to finish strong in the class. Week 15 is our last week of new content in the course. This week, we'll be studying the content of chapter 16. The content page includes learning objectives, terms to know, and then also some multimedia resources to help you dive into the content of chapter 15. This week, we'll be discussing various sources of renewable energy. Specifically, I'm asking you to identify what you think is the best option in terms of the renewable energy source that you think is the most promising option for sustainably powering human societies. I want to know why you think it's the best option and why you think it's superior to other forms. I also want to hear about what you think is the worst option for sustainably powering our societies. There are some resources here that you may choose to use. You can also use your textbook and other outside resources. Be sure to make those initial posts by Wednesday at 11:59 p.m. and then your follow-up post by Saturday at 11:59 p.m. The Renewable Energy Laboratory is all about trying to figure out the best renewable energy options for trying specifically to power the state of California. So the first thing I'm asking you to do is fill out a renewable energy pros and cons table. So for each of these renewable energy sources, I want to know how it generates electricity and what the pros are of that source and also the cons. So you'll be able to find all of this information in chapter 16. And I actually recommend that you do this before you do the week 15 discussion. So it's clearly related to what I'm asking you to do in that discussion as well. Then I'm asking you to take a look at how the various resources, renewable energy resources, are distributed around the state of California. For example, this is a map showing how biomass resources are distributed, and you can see there's high yields of biomass in the North Coast, but really low yields in the eastern side of the state. So what I'm asking you to do is to look at each of these maps, which show a different kind, the distribution of a different kind of renewable energy, and then come down to this table and write in the state of California which regions have the highest potential. So for biomass, we just saw it being pretty high on the North Coast, which have the lowest. We just saw that it's pretty low on the east side of the Sierra Nevada, where we have a lot of deserts. And then from the map, figure out what the high potential values are. And that's something that you can read using the map keys. So you're going to do that for all of these different renewable energy resources. Finally, you're going to fill out a summary table. For each of the regions of the state, I want you to decide which renewable energy source you think should be used, and then to justify your decision based on the pros and cons, and also the distribution of the various renewable energy sources throughout the state. So what I'm asking you to turn in Canvas are the three tables: the pros and cons, the renewable energy potential table, and then also that summary table by region. This is due by Saturday at the end of the day. Like usual, there's a practice quiz. In this case, it's covering the chapter 16 material about renewable energy. Make sure you get that done before completing the graded quiz. So that's meant to help you prepare for this graded quiz. There are two extra components in this module. This week, I'm asking you to turn in your ice duration and climate change lab report. I want to emphasize, it's also here in bold, that this lab report is just supposed to be about part 2 of the climate change lab. That was the Lake Mendota ice duration data set that went from, I think it was 1865 all the way up to 2023. So do not include the PhET simulation data in your report. You have a leg up on this because you already completed the scatter plot, the figure, in week 13. So that should be ready to go. You might want to look at the assignment comments that I gave you to see if I had any feedback about that. Of course, you're going to need to have a title, an abstract, that figure, and a figure description. So there's a bunch of resources here to help you do well on that assignment. The only other component in the week 15 module is an exam readiness check. So this is something where I'm asking you to look at the exam information page. It's got some tips for taking the exam, a little bit of information about the exam format, and then I'm asking you to answer these questions. Really, this is all about you getting ready for the exam. So I just want to make sure that you're prepared in terms of your understanding of the content, or at least you know what areas you need to work on. I also want to make sure you're prepared to use Honor Lock. So unlike our weekly quizzes, but like the first exam, exam 2 will be proctored using Honor Lock to ensure that you aren't using any printed or digital support during the exam. So as I mentioned, you're also going to have access to the week 16 module during week 15. That's the exam information sheet that we were just talking about. It also includes an exam 2 practice quiz that has Honor Lock enabled. So this is a way for you to test your technology, make sure that's working for you before you open up the exam. And then you also have this discussion, which is optional, but this would be a great place for us to post questions that we have about exam 2, and I'll be checking. It's a place where you could also check in and answer your peers' questions if you want to. The only other thing in the week 16 module is the exam, which is going to be open from Sunday to Wednesday of final exams week, and then an end of semester survey. Okay, as always, please let me know if you have any questions, and have a great